The air crackled with energy. Keyboards clattered, mice clicked. The cyber zone was alive. Teens and kids hunched over glowing screens. Their eyes darted across the monitors. Fingers flew across the keys. The virtual world consumed them. Ethan slammed his fist on the table. "Yes!" he roared, his character victorious once again. His friend Jake slumped in his chair. "No fair, man," he mumbled, his eyes glued to the game over screen. Ethan grinned. He loved the thrill of the game, the adrenaline rush of victory. He could spend hours here, lost in this digital world. The old clock on the wall ticked ominously. 7:30. The bright lights of the cyber zone seemed to dim, replaced by an uneasy tension. Everyone knew the law. 8 o'clock, curfew. It had been implemented after a series of incidents, kids disappearing on their way home from late-night gaming sessions. The authorities had acted swiftly. Safety first, they declared. No child on the streets after 8. 8 o'clock. The bell above the door chimed its warning. Most of the kids reluctantly shut down their games. They shuffled out into the night, casting nervous glances over their shoulders. But not Ethan and Jake. They lingered, their eyes glued to the screen. "Just one more level," Ethan muttered, his fingers already flying across the keyboard. Jake nodded in agreement. The allure of the game was too strong, the curfew easily forgotten. They were alone now. The only sounds were the hum of the computers and their own frantic breathing. A mistake. A sudden thud jolted them out of their digital trance. They spun around, hearts pounding. Two figures stood silhouetted against the dim light of the street lamps outside. Tall and menacing, they wore dark hoodies pulled low over their faces. Fear coiled in Ethan's stomach. He exchanged a worried look with Jake. One of the figures slammed the door shut with a resounding boom. The lock clicked shut. Trapped. Ethan and Jake were frozen in their seats, their blood turning to ice. The figures advanced into the room, their faces obscured by the shadows. They moved with an unnerving silence, their eyes glinting menacingly.
"Don't move."
One of the figures growled, his voice a low, guttural sound that sent shivers down their spines. He held out a hand, revealing a glint of metal, a knife.
Gasps.
Ethan's breath caught in his throat. His mind raced, desperately searching for an escape. There was none.
"Empty your pockets."
The other figure snarled, his voice laced with malice. He brandished a length of pipe, the metal glinting under the dim lights. Jake, paralyzed with fear, could only stare at the menacing figure.
"Take it easy."
Ethan, summoning a surge of courage, stood up. He stammered, his voice trembling. He reached for his pocket, his hand shaking.
"Screams!"
A scream pierced the air. It was Jake. He was on his feet, eyes wide with terror, pointing a trembling finger at the door. A figure stood there, silhouetted against the moonlight. A girl. She was young, no older than 12, her face pale and drawn. She whispered, her voice barely audible. The intruders whirled around, their attention diverted. It was all the time Ethan needed. He lunged for the panic button under the counter, the button they always joked about. It connected directly to the police station. He slammed his palm down on it. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. The intruders hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty crossing their faces. Then, with a curse, they bolted for the back door, disappearing into the night. The girl, her face etched with terror, sank to the floor, her body shaking uncontrollably. They were safe, for now, but Ethan knew deep down that they had been lucky. They had escaped the clutches of danger by a hair's breadth. They had cheated death, but at what cost? The girl, her eyes wide with terror, served as a chilling reminder of the price of disobedience. S2, help me. The wail of sirens grew louder, piercing the silence of the night. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Ethan and Jake watched, their bodies still trembling from the adrenaline, as uniformed officers swarmed the cyber zone. Their faces were grim, their movements swift and practiced. The girl, wrapped in a blanket, was escorted out of the shop by a kind-faced policewoman. She looked small and fragile, her face pale and drawn. Ethan couldn't imagine the terror she must have felt witnessing the ordeal. As they were ushered into a police car, Ethan caught a glimpse of something lying on the floor, a small pink phone. It was hers. He pointed it out to an officer. The investigation was swift and thorough. Security footage from the cyber zone revealed the faces of the intruders. The girl's phone, dropped in her haste to escape, held crucial evidence. Within hours, the perpetrators were apprehended, brought to justice by the long arm of the law. Ethan and Jake were hailed as heroes. Their quick thinking and bravery had saved the day. But the real hero, they knew, was the girl. Her cry for help had distracted the intruders, giving them the precious seconds they needed to activate the alarm. The experience left an indelible mark on them. It was a stark reminder of the importance of rules, of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. They had learned their lesson. The next time the clock struck 8, they wouldn't hesitate. They would be home, safe and sound, where they belonged.